Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/entitled parents. My son's allowed to hit you. I'm a plumber and my job brings me to the insides of a lot of homes. I have many funny stories, but this is really my only really negative one, as others' stories are just rude people and constant reschedulers. Anyway, one time in particular was to go to entitled mom's house to fix her sink. Her husband had left her recently and she didn't know how to fix the problem, and she has called in a couple times as her husband would be gone quite frequently. I don't know why and don't want to assume, and couldn't fix it. So I was called into the home, and as I arrived I was greeted by entitled kid, and he yells to his mother and she lets me in and leads me to the sink that isn't working. Most cases the sink is leaking, this one wasn't pushing water into the spout though, so there was no mess. Entitled kid approaches me as I start to work and is kicking me. He's not hurting me, but it got agitating after a little bit, so I tell entitled kid to stop, to where he proceeds to start hitting me in the face, so I get entitled mom, and this is the conversation that unfolds. Me: could you possibly tell your son to please stop hitting me while I'm working? It makes it hard to focus. Entitled mom: what do you mean? Is he hurting you? Me: no, not really, I'm just trying to focus and it's annoying. Entitled mom: so if he's not hurting you, what does it matter? Me: well, I'm trying to focus and it's quite aggravating. Entitled mom: entitled kid's name: is this true? Entitled kid: yes. Me shocked he didn't lie. Entitled mom: well, it's my house and our rules are different. My name. Me: are you serious? Entitled mom: yes, I am. My son is allowed to hit you because you are in the premises of my house. Crosses arms. Me starts to pack up my tools and such and walks towards door to leave. Entitled mom: what are you doing? I paid good money for your services. Me: I'll make sure we get you a refund. Drives away. From what I know, this hasn't happened to any other people who came into the house to fix it in the past, as it wasn't brought up to me, nor has anyone left on her before, besides her husband. Also, don't worry, she got her refund. Also sorry, this is my first post, so if anything is not flowing right, it's just because I've never posted on this sub and I'm not the most familiar with it. Top comments. She shouldn't have gotten her refund. Why should you have lost money because she let her son hit you? OP replies. We really didn't want the hassle with her and we're fine without her contribution. I'd love to see her in court 20 years from now when her son has an assault charge on him. Well, they were in his house, so he's allowed to do whatever he wants. He'll get thrown in prison and she'll be locked up in an asylum, 'cause she is definitely crazy. Next story. Working class retired parents think they should be able to live a wealthy lifestyle. So let me start with, I love my in-laws, but their spending habits and choices are driving me up the wall. I'm having a second grandkid. They live 20+ hours away by car. I'd love for them to live closer. My kids are most likely going to be their only grandkids. They keep waffling on moving. That would be okay, but they can't afford the house they live in. We live somewhere much more affordable, so they could get a house as nice as their current one for much less and have the excess to live off of. Either way, they need to sell the house. It's a 5-bedroom home with a pool and gardens, and they can't afford the electric bill for it on their fixed income. On top of this, they've bought 2 RVs in 10 years and can no longer afford their most recent RV. My mother-in-law said they always thought they'd be able to afford a groundskeeper and help in their old age. I'm shocked because these are working-class government servants. They made solid middle-class salaries, but they aren't wealthy. Why did and do they think they should be able to afford all of that? They say they worked hard their lives, so they should. Well, in my mind, we all work hard and most people can't. Their solution for being around the grandkids more is to rent a house in our neighborhood. Our neighbor has 2-story 3+ bedroom homes, and it would mostly be the mother-in-law here, and she'd only be here 6 months out of the year max. She is also suggesting we subsidize this living arrangement since she'll be helping us. We're already paying $20,000 a year in childcare costs. And that will only increase in the coming years. Rent in our neighborhood also isn't cheap, and what business does a grandma alone have renting a $2,000 SQFT 2-story home with 3 bedrooms by herself while also keeping her McMansion 2,000 miles away? My solution is maybe us buying another property nearby where we live. I found an affordable 2-bedroom 1-bath bungalow that's cute and biking distance from our neighborhood. We've been thinking about buying another property anyway. It already has bars installed in the bathrooms, so would be a great setup in 10 years when the parents burn through their money and need care. We can Airbnb it or rent it when a grandparent isn't living there. I showed the mother-in-law and her first reaction was, "There's only 2 bedrooms." I don't know, I'm Southern and I was raised where you have money but you're frugal with it. Being house poor was always talked about like the worst thing possible growing up, where you can barely afford the roof over your head and all your money goes to keeping the lights on. We'd hear stories of the nicer neighborhoods where you'd go in and all the lights would be off and they wouldn't have furniture because they are spending everything to appear to have a nice house and don't have any money left over for anything else. Most people in my family bought one house they could easily afford in a decent but not fancy neighborhood and stayed in it until they died. If they had more money they bought extra houses or stock investments. Anyway, I just needed to vent. I feel like my husband needs to have a sit down with them and discuss end-of-life finances, but I think they're both just hoping they drop dead suddenly of a heart attack in the next 10 years. Top comments. If you weren't rich when you were working, you probably won't be once you retire. It's time to take them to a credit/retirement planning counselor and help them see their true situation as it really is. But no, don't give them money or bail them out, or God forbid bring them to live with you. You get exactly as much and as good a retirement as you prepared for. Also, you don't say how old they are, but if they are under 65 they should still be working and not taking reduced pensions just so they don't have to work anymore. Ma'am, seriously, you really need to think about the consequences of them living closer. You have all these plans regarding what they should do and how they'll be a help. Reality check. They probably more than likely will not babysit the kids the way you'd like, and moving them closer means they are closer to ask for money or expect you guys to subsidize them because they moved to be near you. Be careful what you ask for, you may get it. Next story. My parents are intolerant of my political views. My mom and I just had a massive argument. She was pressuring me to vote for Lord Trump, and I said no, because he's a fascist and Project 2025 will flip the tables, and Republicans will rule the states with an iron fist and enforce Christianity into the law, and threaten people like me. My mom got so offended, denied any of this stuff from ever happening, and called me embarrassing, and that I'm just listening to my phone or liberal propaganda. My mom was like, Trump's gonna fix the economy. And while Trump may have been good with the economy, he was terrible in all other places. She was really giving me a hard time for my different political views, and my dad's the same way, like when he threw a tantrum for being pro-choice and called me mentally deranged. He yelled at me and threw all kinds of insults. My entire family is like this. They're these funky right-wing evangelicals who deny their extremism and the corruption of the Republican Party. They have this, I'm right, you're wrong mentality, and they kinda deny this too. Top comments. Low contact and info diet. Who are you going to vote for? I'm not sure yet. Candidate A is the only option. Interesting, thank you for sharing. Well, who are you going to vote for? Don't know. I stopped talking to my mom when she told me that Trump is more important to her than me or my kids. Well, Trump wasn't good with the economy. He basically threw band-aids at the economy that gave him short-term gains, but hurt us in the long run. He left the economy in quite the mess. Tax cuts to the wealthiest was not helping us either. Let us not forget Trump himself skipped out on paying his taxes. Awful man. Next story. My mom told her bum but friend my medical history. Hi everyone, my mom is a helicopter mom. I'm 27 years old and I still live with her because I live in an expensive city and I only work part-time because I got laid off in October. Her bum friend is named Hung, he's Vietnamese Chinese. He used to crash at our place and he would call me fat. He said I gained weight double the size, but he would say it to my mom behind my back. He would gamble his money away then sleep over. My brother and his GF were uncomfortable with him staying over because we all live there. And he was freeloading on and off for a few days every few months. Whenever his sister would kick him out. He finally found a permanent place to stay at. So I came home from the pharmacy because they increased my dosage because I have been struggling with an health issue. She tells him about my eating habits, how my medication dosage got increased and how I don't work out as much compared to my brother. I tell her multiple times not to tell him as it is not his business, then she ignores me and keeps telling him. This dude smokes a pack a day, calls me fat, and then she told him my whole medical history. I'm so upset. And she doesn't care. OMG. Asian parents are something else. I'm just annoyed. She even tries to interfere with the doctor and tells her that she will talk to them. I tell her not to, as it is my business. Top comments. First step would be to stop telling your mother your medical problems. OP replies. I try not to tell her, but then she saw my medication bottle and saw that the dosage was higher. Let this worthless bum but friend of your mother's know that he should not share any secret that he has with her. Since she will be sharing it with everyone else, since she does the same crap to you. It should be obvious to anyone that she tells your secrets to that she will pass along their secrets to everyone else too. That is the way people like your mother are. They can't wait to pass along any secret they get. The object here is to break their friendship bad enough to where he never comes back over. In fact, if there is any secret that she told you about him, let him know exactly what it was and what she said about him. Let her try to deny it. It hopefully will get him to never come back over. Next story. I feel defeated and stuck. I want my parents to move out. My parents have been irresponsible my whole life. I've been homeless and in many uncomfortable housing situations, including living with extended family, homeless shelters, cars, or squatted housing on and off throughout my childhood. During my senior year of high school, I lived in a motel. I turned 18 in late 2021 during the pandemic while my parents and two of my siblings lived in the motel. I was in my first semester of college and had to return to the motel due to financial struggle. During that time, my dad had told us that the weekly rent owed to the motel was paid through a COVID rental assistance program. However, they would spend their money on gambling, weed, and alcohol and never buy food, causing us to lose a lot of weight. Two of us were in college, and they would take the relief money we received and spend it too. Then they would criticize us for not having jobs, even though my mom didn't have a job either, and one of my siblings had to quit theirs because my parents would take their money while they were sleeping, and it got to a point where they couldn't afford transportation to the job. On top of that, I had no birth certificate or social security card because they lost it when I was like 5 and never replaced it, so I couldn't get a job until I got them. It took months, but my siblings and I figured out how to receive my documents and got jobs to save up to move away from our parents because their irresponsible ways were keeping us trapped in the motel with them. It was really hard to save and keep money from our parents. At first, my dad would tell me how he made more money than me and that my money from my near minimum wage job meant nothing, letting me know constantly that on a bad week, he made twice as much as me. Then he and my mom would ask for money. They would get mad when we asked them why or said no. It was hard with them taking our money, but after 5 months of working, we had enough money to start looking for a place. We decided not to rush since we also wanted money to save for a car. We told our parents we were looking for a place, and they said that they would also look for themselves. While still touring houses, we were given an eviction notice, and it turned out my dad had been lying about paying rent. We had no clue because he did say the COVID program was over and would ask us for money to cover it. My siblings and I decided to just move into any place we could. We got accepted for a 3-bedroom house for a good price in today's economy, and we had our move-in day set just before the eviction date. Just before we moved in, my dad asked if he and my mom could move in with us for just a year and said that he would even pay half of the rent, and we could split the other half 3 ways. We didn't think he'd actually do that, but we agreed because we felt bad and didn't want to them be homeless, and we figured we could use their car some more. I ended up getting a new car the same week we moved, and then my parents' car needed some work. So we ended up splitting the rent 4 ways, me, 2 siblings, and dad. Then he crashed his car and never got it fixed because he had no insurance. After that, it continued to get worse. My mom would take my car, lie about where she's going, and not bring it back in time for us to go to work. My dad yells at me for asking for the money in weekly increments but never has it all at the end or beginning of the month. They refuse to put money in the grocery pile but always eat the groceries. They will take things from my room without asking. They never put gas in my car after using it. They argue constantly. I was taking classes at a local community college but had to stop because I had to work more hours to cover for all the things that they do and don't pay for. This is just a small list of all the things they do that affect me. My siblings and I want to stay in this house because the rent is so affordable, and its location is extremely convenient for its distance from shopping, recreation, and my job. I can work 25 hours a week and go to school while living comfortably. How do I get them to move out? Or do I just accept that my siblings and I will have to move and leave them homeless? TLDR, I've endured housing instability and financial struggles due to my parents' irresponsibility. They spend money on gambling, drugs, and alcohol instead of paying for basic needs. They manipulated and took advantage of me and my siblings financially. We had to work hard and save money to move out and escape their control. Despite agreeing to let them move in temporarily, they continued to be disrespectful and unreliable, causing further stress and financial strain. How do I fix it? Top comments. Evict their lazy deadbeat butts. Get an eviction notice from the police and you don't owe them anything. Also, lock down your credit and hide important documents from them. They made their bed, they can lie in it. If they are not on the lease, begin formal eviction process. Put together a spreadsheet showing what they have failed to pay over time. Copy text messages, emails, and communication you have from them. Use it for fuel in the fire. Also, you mentioned that your dad yells at you guys. If you feel threatened, you could look into a restraining order. Given your background of them being unstable would also help bolster your case. I hope it all works out for you in the end. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel our posts.